Hello, everyone. Hello, hello. All right. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome back to Cobb's Corner. I'm your host, Morgan Cobbs. And I guess before I start this official video, this official live stream, we're live on YouTube right now. Going forward, the Current Nerd News will be a weekly live stream Thursday nights at 7 o'clock, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And because initially, for those of you who have been listening to my podcast, I've had the segment at the end, Current Nerd News. I've saved it for the end of the episodes, but I figured it'd be better if I just and most of those podcast episodes are recorded a week, like at least a week in advance. But I've now discovered that it would be easier if what I did instead was had a weekly live stream for like about an hour. Like I only intend for this live stream to be only for about an hour, and every Thursday night, 7 p.m., I just for an hour talked about what's new, what's new in like the world and the nerdverse. I realized that the acronym for the show would be CNN, Current Nerd News. Logo in the works, but this will be again Current Nerd News. Will be like the CNN of the entertainment world of the nerd verse. So without any further ado, the time is about 7 o'clock. So let's get the show on the road. So start off. Just gonna look at my notes here. I'm currently wearing a Wu-Tang hoodie, if you guys can see. And on Hulu, there is so shout out to all the Wu-Tang Clan fans watching. On Wednesdays, new episodes Wednesdays on Hulu. The show Wu-Tang and American Saga, and they're currently in the third and final season. They got a lot of great talent behind the camera, in front of the camera. Shout out to the RZA and Method Man for being executive producers of the show, as well as members of the Wu-Tang Clan. So yeah, this show, it's a great show. I mean, it's literally the story of the Wu-Tang Clan and how a lot of them started out on the streets in Staten Island, and then kind of from selling drugs to getting into the rap game and sort of building the brand. Wu-Tang, like it's not just a music group; it's a whole brand around the name Wu-Tang Clan, around the name Wu-Tang, and drawing inspiration from karate films. Like I myself studied Taekwondo for 9 years as a kid, so having that nostalgia and that whole like 90s flair to it. Like yes, it's technically I guess a period piece TV show. Yeah, something going on outside. Currently in my in my dorm in the building. So yeah, check out Wu-Tang Clan. Check out Wu-Tang and American Saga. New episodes Wednesdays on Hulu. This is the third and final season. All around, it's a great show. They made really great music. Like I said, it's technically a period piece. A lot of times when you have a period piece, like shows like Stranger Things or Wu-Tang and American Saga, if you're someone who lived through that time period, you don't want this. You don't want to be disappointed. You don't want to watch it and then all of a sudden they get it wrong. But Wu-Tang Clan, it's pretty well. This show, Wu-Tang and American Saga, it's pretty accurate to that time period. Moving right along, Mandalorian season 3 has officially started. So far, there've been 2 episodes so far as of today's live stream. Yeah, so episodes 1 and 2 are already out. I have watched the first episode of season 3, and I was instantly hooked. I mean, everybody's come back. Grogu, Mando, Bo-Katan. Mando, he goes to, I think in the second episode, in today's episode, he went back to Mandalore. And I love how there's a bunch of a bunch of history and a bunch of Star Wars lore when it comes to Mandalore and the Mandalorians and the Darksaber, So for me, I have to, as I'm watching the Mandalorian in real time, I have to go back and rewatch all of the episodes of all the different episodes of Star Wars: The Clone Wars, Star Wars Rebels, because I know there's a lot of backstory in that show, with the Death Watch and Sabine Wren and the House of Wren and the multiple civil wars that happen on Mandalore, which was a neutral system at one point. And so there's a lot of really, really great history, really, really great content that I will hopefully cover in future episodes. So yeah, Mandalorian season 3, I'm on board. Seasons 1 and 2 were solid. Even the Book of Boba Fett, which is kind of a side story, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the Book of Boba Fett. I enjoyed the crossover episode. I like how it was kind of a setup for season 3 of The Mandalorian, as well as a setup for the Ahsoka series. So definitely looking forward to that. I finished watching Andor as well. Finished watching Andor. I liked it. I thought Andor was a solid sort of origin story. I'm wondering, are they doing with Cassian Andor kind of like what George Lucas did with Obi-Wan Kenobi, like how we're introduced to Obi-Wan Kenobi in A New Hope in 1977, and he dies in that same film. Yeah, we see Obi-Wan in episode 4, A New Hope, episode 4. This virtual background. And there. We see him in episode 4 of A New Hope, and then he dies later in that movie. But then he shows up in Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi as a Force Ghost in episodes 5 and 6. And then we see him in the prequels. We see Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi in the prequels, episodes 1, 2, and 3. Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith. And then he shows up in Star Wars: The Clone Wars, which happens between episodes 2 and 3. And so we were introduced to Cassian Andor in Rogue One, and he died in that film. At the end of that film, he died along with the entire team of rebels that stole the Death Star plans. But now we've gotten sort of a window into his past and how he joined the rebellion. So maybe we'll get a second season of Andor. I'm hoping that we do. And yeah, Star Wars, guys, definitely check out Star Wars, the Star Wars podcast. Michael, he can talk about this way more in depth than I can. I know a lot of the content has been primarily Marvel, and I'm going to get to that later on in this episode. It's mainly Marvel. I've even dabbled in DC a little bit, but Star Wars fans, I'm definitely going to be covering every week Mandalorian and Star Wars content. So, because I never really claimed for this podcast to be one fandom specifically. Star Wars, most of his content is actually primarily Star Wars, but so go check him out. He can definitely tell you guys more about Mandalorian more in depth than I can. Moving right along, yesterday was International Women's Day, wherever you're listening from. It's Women's Day, and I had posted an Instagram reel with the song "Independent Woman" by Destiny's Child. I had posted that Instagram reel with a few of the posters from various various movies. Excuse me, that that included strong female leads. Movies like I think I included Chirac, Wonder Woman, which I actually watched yesterday, Captain Marvel, Kill Bill Volumes 1 and 2, Charlie's Angels, and Charlie's Angels Full Throttle. And in retrospect, I realized that I could have included more posters like I guess the likes of, for DC, maybe like Wonder Woman, Birds of Prey, and Wonder Woman 1984. For Marvel, I could have included like Captain Marvel, Black Widow, I guess Miss Marvel, She-Hulk, maybe Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. So yeah, definitely, shout out to all of the women of the world. Okay, I mean, literally, I know my listener population is primarily male, but shout out to all of my women listeners. Cops Corner, we stand with you, and we stand for gender equality, and we love and support and appreciate the women of the various franchises that we cover here at Cops Corner. Star Wars, Marvel, DC, and everything else. We salute you. And there's even a series on Disney Plus. It's a docuseries called The Women of Marvel that I'll be looking at. And it talks about, I guess, Gamora, Captain Marvel, Black Widow. So yeah, definitely looking forward to that. So happy belated International Women's Day to all of my female listeners around the world. Happy belated. And yeah. So yeah, yesterday was International Women's Day. The main thing I wanted to talk about today was Creed 3. In my notes, I actually have, it says like Creed 3 dash main event. So that is the main event for today's episode. I saw Creed 3 in IMAX. I saw it in IMAX this past Tuesday. And I guess story time. I'll tell you about like what happened to me leading up to going to see the movie in theaters. Essentially, I had gone to the mall. This was the Cinemark in Milford, Connecticut. It's the only real IMAX theater in the area. And I'm trying to think. I went to the mall. I went to Target first, and then I went to the food court. And then the movie was at 7, but apparently the mall closed at 6. So I'm having dinner in the food court. It's like 5:45. They said the mall's closing in 15 minutes. And funny, I was actually sitting there. I was watching Black Adam. And so I just walked up the stairs, went to the theater. I had already bought my tickets. I just had them scanned, giving me a ticket stub. And I couldn't go in the theater early because I think it was like maybe about like 6 o'clock, 6:15. They were still cleaning up, or I think there was a screening still going on. And then once that screening was over, the cleaning crew, they were still in there just like cleaning up for like a solid 30 minutes. Like nobody was allowed in until 7 o'clock, which for me, like the reason why I show up early to the movies is so I can show up and get my seats, get my popcorn, use the bathroom if I have to. And, I want to watch all the previews. So then I ran into my best friend. He was there with his group of friends as well. So it was a very, very interesting experience just getting to my seats. Once I got there, I saw it it was in IMAX 2D. I mean, the movie was filmed for IMAX, it is meant to be experienced in IMAX. Okay, if you have not seen this movie in IMAX, see it in IMAX. All right. And I'm not sure if it's offered in IMAX 3D or not, but because I saw it in IMAX 2D, and like when I was buying my ticket, I didn't see any IMAX 3D option. So see it in IMAX 2D if you're able to, if it's playing in IMAX where you're located, but it should be, because the movie is specifically filmed for IMAX. If a movie is filmed for a specific format, I will go and see it in that format. And so yeah, I think the movie definitely sort of felt like its own film. I think the first two Creed films were sort of not so much a passing of the torch from Rocky to Creed, but making Adonis Creed like he's the son of Apollo Creed, and him sort of coming up as a boxer, and him being trained by Rocky, and including Sylvester Stallone in the first two Creed movies. So seeing how Creed is sort of building his own like brand, building his own legacy as Adonis Creed, not as Apollo Creed's son, but as Adonis Creed, not as Rocky's trainee, but as Adonis Creed. So him sort of coming into his own in the first two movies, and yes, receiving help from Rocky along the way, but the first two movies, they included Rocky in those first two, and then at the end of the second film, he even, I guess they kind of give Rocky sort of a proper send off, and sort of his character arc comes full circle. He reconnects with his son, who we saw in Rocky's 5 and Rocky Balboa, that he didn't have the best relationship with his son. So sort of clearing that up, and at the end of Creed 2, he kind of reconnects with his son, and meets his grandson for the first time, and that sort of thing. So that was sort of Rocky's exit from the Creed franchise, because again, the franchise is not about Rocky; it is about Creed. So I mean, Creed 2 was not Rocky 8; it was the second Creed film. So, and this is a franchise that's been in development almost 10 years now. So yeah, I definitely think that the franchise is going in a whole another direction. And this is adamant with Sylvester Stallone's not being in Creed 3. I think from a story standpoint, it made sense for Rocky to not be a part of the movie. But I know behind the scenes, Stallone was unsatisfied with the direction that they were going to go film wise. And, he was, I heard that he was like unsatisfied with the way that the franchise was going, and then he wanted out of the franchise. So whatever the reason, Stallone is probably not going to be in any future Creed films. And it's not out of the ordinary for Michael B. Jordan to be making his directorial debut with Creed 3, because for the film scholars who are watching, and if you've listened to my review of Rocky, so far I've only done Rockies 1 through 4. If you've listened to those reviews, and I think we might have mentioned it when I did the episode way back in October on Backlook Cinema podcast, when we reviewed Rocky, I think we might have brought up how Rocky, I think he directed a few of the Rocky films. I think like maybe 2, 3, maybe Rocky 4. He wrote and directed those films. So I think, yeah. So yeah, I think Michael B. Jordan being in front of the camera and behind the camera, it's a perfect transition. It was his directorial debut. I think he did a phenomenal job as a first-time director. Now, granted, on this podcast, I don't really talk that much about like Oscar nominations or Oscar wins or like all the awards and accolades, because I feel like that doesn't necessarily translate the value of a movie. It's like, okay, so a movie's got a bunch of awards and accolades, but like, did I learn anything? Did I absorb? Like, what have I learned from this movie? What is the moral of what's the moral of the story? Did I enjoy it? Was I informed? Was I entertained? Was I impacted? What is the impact that this movie had on me? Like, regardless of what the Academy thinks of the movie, but regardless of like a board of like higher ups and other actors and directors or whatever. So, but I am definitely hoping for some sort of like either nomination or win at the Oscars for either Michael B. Jordan, either as a director or as an actor. If not Michael B. Jordan, then Jonathan Majors. Jonathan Majors stole the show. All right. MTV, if you are listening to this podcast, anybody who works for MTV, Viacom, y'all better nominate this man for best villain. All right. Jonathan Majors, either King the Conqueror or his character from Creed 3, Dame Anderson, I think. Yeah, Dame Anderson. But yeah, Jonathan Majors, this guy, he is up and coming, young guy. He's only like 30, he's 33 years old. So, and with movies like Devotion and shows like, Lovecraft Country, like he's done a lot of great work. He is an up and coming actor. And he's even said how he wants to work with Michael B. Jordan going forward. I can see the two of them being like the next. And I kind of talked about this on Comic Boys podcast last week, which, well, I'm not sure if, depending on when you're listening to this episode, I'm not sure if the episode that I recorded with Khalil is available on his channel or not, but we recorded an episode where we talked about how possibly Michael B. Jordan and Jonathan Majors could be the next dynamic duo of Hollywood. Like, you've got actors like Seth Rogen and James Franco, like they've done Pineapple Express, This Is the End, The Interview. Let's see, John C. Reilly and Will Ferrell, like they've done Holmes and Watson, Step Brothers, maybe one or two other movies. Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, for my listeners in the UK. They've done Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and like one other movie. And I feel like all three of those movies were directed by Edgar Wright, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, like throughout Hollywood, there's always those dynamic duos. There's always those two actors, even De Niro and Pacino. Robert De Niro and Al Pacino, like they've done Goodfellas, The Irishman, going all the way back to Godfather Part 2. So yeah, no, I can totally see the two of them, these great men, Michael B. Jordan as, I guess at this point, he's an actor director. He's an actor, I guess either actor / director or actor - director. And, Jonathan Majors as an actor, I can totally see the two of them doing more movies together outside of the Creed franchise. Like maybe they just do comedies, like do a buddy cop movie, do a drama, do like, because Jonathan Majors and Michael B. Jordan, they're both actors with range. They've done serious roles. They've done even some sort of comedic roles. Who knows? Maybe with Avengers Kang Dynasty, the Avengers Kang Dynasty or Avengers Secret Wars, there's really all bets are off at this point. Like in the MCU, I think that they could even go so far as to have Kang the Conqueror encounter an alternate universe version of Killmonger. Maybe. I think that would be a fun concept to play around with, I think. So, looking forward to seeing the two of them together on the big screen soon. Who knows where they will go from here? But Loved Creed 3 easily. It is one of the greatest movies of 2023. I know it's early. I know it's early in the year. I know it's only March. Like, I know tomorrow the movie 65 with Adam Driver comes out. That movie actually looked pretty interesting. One of the other podcasters picked that movie for the Fantasy Movie League. I'm glad I picked Creed 3 for Fantasy Movie League 2023. Most of my picks so far this year have been pretty good. I picked Cocaine Bear. I picked Knock at the Cabin. Knock at the Cabin was my bonus pick. I liked that movie. I liked Cocaine Bear. Creed 3 was phenomenal. I think of the movies that I picked, Creed 3 is probably going to do the best. Next week, Shazam! Fury of the Gods comes out, which I'll talk about later on in this episode. But Creed 3, I'm saying it now, one of the greatest movies of 2023. It's going to be in the top 10. I know it's early. I know we're still in the first quarter of the year, like end of the first quarter, March, it's the third month of the year. We still got 9 more months, but I just don't think anything else this year is going to compare to Creed 3. It might, 34. I mean, I've only seen it one time, and I know I'm already saying that it's like easily one of the greatest movies of the year. Maybe another 20, 30 years, we might consider this movie a classic. It's got the very, very relatable theme of nobody escapes from their past. There is no greater enemy in life than your past and the things that you've done. The things that you've done that you're not proud of, things that you don't tell anyone. That coming back to haunt you. It's a very, very relatable theme of your past. And I like that. Despite whatever might have happened behind the scenes between Michael B. Jordan and Sylvester Stallone, outside controversy aside, if we're talking just the movie, from a creative directorial standpoint, I'm glad Rocky was not in this movie. I'm glad he wasn't. I'm glad that with this movie, they really forced Adonis Creed to forge his own destiny, build his own legacy. That's literally, without getting into spoiler territory, that is literally the logo on the at the gym. The same gym that Apollo Creed trained at, that we see in the first 2 Creed movies. They put a slogan on the wall. And actually, the gym I go to here on campus at the University of Bridgeport, at the Wheeler Rec Center, they've got motivational, motivational kind of sayings on the walls, be stronger than your excuses, your only limit is you, in Creed 3 at the gym, they have it's the saying, build your own legacy. Right next to that is a picture of Apollo Creed. So really, I think that was an essential part of the movie, was Adonis Creed building his own legacy, not as Apollo Creed's son, not as Rocky's trainee, but as Adonis Creed. Building his own legacy. So yeah, I am very, very excited for the future of this Creed franchise. I can easily see them, maybe not right away. Maybe they'll do it like they did with the Rocky franchise, where maybe they'll do, the Rocky franchise overall has done 6 movies total that span over the course of 30 years. The first Rocky film was 1976. And I want to say Rocky 2 was maybe 79. Hold on, let me just... I'm actually going to look up the Rocky movies and their release years. Yeah, so Rocky was 1976. Rocky 2, 1979. Rocky 3, 1982. Rocky 4, 1985. Rocky 5 was 1990. Rocky Balboa, the self-titled last film in the Rocky franchise, 2006. 40 years, over the span of 40 years. I think Stallone was probably about 30 years old when he did the first Rocky movie, and he was pushing 60 when they did Rocky Balboa. I can totally see with Creed them doing the same thing, because the first Creed came out 8 years ago. Came out 2015. 2015. The first Creed film. And really, I feel like that movie definitely put. I know it wasn't Michael B. Jordan's first movie. I want to say his first movie was like Hardball back in 2001 with Keanu Reeves. I still haven't seen that movie, although it did come out in a good year. I think Creed in 2015, that was his breakout role. And just like how Rocky was kind of Sylvester Stallone's breakout role. I was watching one of like the old trailers for the first Rocky movie, and I think the narrator, he said like his name is Sylvester Stallone, but you will remember him as Rocky. So maybe it's the same with Michael B. Jordan. His name is Michael B. Jordan, but we will remember him as Creed. So yeah, Creed 2015. Creed 2 was 2018, so taking a 3-year gap between the first and second films. And just like how they did with the first Rocky, 1976, Rocky 2, 1979. There was a 5-year gap between Creeds 2 and 3, and I remember I saw Creed 2 in theaters back in. I think it came out in November of 2018, because I had already started college. I was in my first semester of college here at UB, and I remember I watched the first Creed the night before. I think I watched the first Creed maybe that like Thursday or Friday night, and then I saw Creed 2 the next day. I think I was home from school for Thanksgiving break, and I want to say it was probably Thanksgiving. I think that was when I saw Creed. I watched it that night, and then Creed 2 I watched in theaters the next day. With my best friend, the same guy who I ran into at the theaters on Sunday. I want to say we saw it at that same theater. I want to say it was Cinemark in Milford, which might have been AMC at the time. I'm not entirely sure. So I think the reason why Creed 3 took 5 years to make was probably because of COVID. They probably had to delay production or pre-production because pandemic. But boy, was it well worth the wait. It was well worth the wait. A significant amount of time has passed between sequels, like between 2 and 3, like sort of like keeping up with like the pacing of the film franchise, like the film franchise, like sort of keeping up with the pacing of the franchise, also keeping up with, I guess, time and the fact that the co-stars, they grow up. Everybody's gotten older. They even like how there's I forget exactly how many years. I'm not entirely sure the exact time jump from Creed 2 to Creed 3, but Adonis Creed's daughter is older now, so at least probably about like maybe 5 or 6 years have passed between Creeds 2 and 3. Adonis and Bianca are married now. They've bought their own house, and so they've got a daughter. Again, overall, 10 out of 10. I don't usually do that. I don't usually give movies 10 out of 10. And no movie's perfect, but I mean, this movie, easily one of the best movies of 2023. Who knows? At the end of this decade, it might go down as one of the greatest movies of the decade. Might. But for sure, it's in my top 10 for movies in 2023, just this year. It's one of the best movies that's come out and will come out this year. Calling it right now. And yeah, that's all I'm gonna say about Creed 3. But moving right along to a sort of upsetting reveal. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. Now, I have talked about, I think, like when I did the live stream 2 weeks ago. I think because I didn't stream last week. I think I did a live stream 2 weeks ago where I talked about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and I said how I was really just skeptical about the upcoming film. But the teaser trailer is out there. I started watching it. I didn't actually get to finish watching it. So, but before I officially watch it, I would like to just mention that, I grew up with the 2003 Ninja Turtle series and I loved it. I think that the films from the 90s definitely worked better um, because it was all. I'll watch the trailer another time. It was because the fact that it was all one thing, like it was all live action. You actually had the stunt coordinators and stunt choreographers like in the suits doing ninjutsu, so it all felt real. The 2014 Ninja Turtles, the Michael Bay live action Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, just left such a bad taste in my mouth. I've given up on the franchise. It's crazy to think that that movie's been out almost 10 years. I mean, it came out 9 years ago, August of 2014. And yeah, I was very, very displeased with that movie. I think the giant CGI turtles, the character design was awful. I think they just always feel a need to reinvent the wheel every time there's a new show, a new movie franchise. They got to redo the whole origin story and make it different. But that being said, I think that nothing will ever compare to the films from the 90s. They were funny when they could be, they were serious when they absolutely had to be. And it felt like I felt like I could actually sit and watch it, have fun with it as a kid, but also rewatch it as an adult and pick up on like the adult themes. But that 2014 film was just awful. Just awful. The 2012 cartoon that aired on Nickelodeon in 2012, I kind of gave that cartoon the benefit of the doubt. I watched maybe the first season ish. I watched like maybe the first couple episodes. I don't really remember watching it in real time, but I guess it was okay. Maybe I'm just blind with nostalgia, and I just have that nostalgia for the 2003 series. But and Cartoon Network and 4Kids TV, two stations that no longer exist. It's crazy. Clearly I'm getting older, but yeah, or the 2007 TMNT movie, which didn't even feature the Shredder, and it featured like Winters and all like the monsters, the 13 monsters. It was a different storyline. I really feel like they could have done something with that, and I feel like they were setting up a sequel back in 2007. I think at the end they were setting up a sequel that never happened because of like Viacom and like the switching of ownership. Mirage Films selling the franchise in 2009 to Viacom, and then Nickelodeon rebooting the franchise. So I don't. I got zero expectations for this movie. Although the animation does look similar to the animation that's used in Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, which is actually a nice segue into our next movie because I definitely do not want to waste any more time on Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Again, I told you guys I would only hold you for an hour, so I mean we've been live for almost 40 minutes now. So moving right along, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I saw the trailer for it. I think when I saw Creed 3. This movie looks phenomenal. Same amazing animation style. If I'm not mistaken, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse was the first. It definitely was the first Spider-Man movie to win an Oscar, and it won the Oscar for Best Animated Feature. Now, again, I don't really look too heavily on Oscars, on the Oscar, so I'll leave that to Khalil on Comic Boys. But I definitely think that the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, it's a nice coming of age story, and it also left it kind of open ended at the end. We got a teaser for Spider-Man Across the which we now know is called Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. It left us with something to look forward to. We've got Spider-Man 2099, who's going to be voiced by none other than Oscar Isaac, aka Moon Knight, aka Apocalypse, aka Poe Dameron. He also did a movie called A Most Violent Year, which came out New Year's Eve 2014. It was one of the first movies of 2015. It's indie film, indie crime drama. That's for all like the real diehard Oscar Isaac fans. But yeah, he's gonna be voiced by Oscar Isaac, and yeah, I mean from the trailer, like this movie looks very promising. Looks like it's going to be another fun Spider-Verse adventure, with the return of Shamik Moore, and okay, his name's not Nick in real life, but Nick from New Girl. I'm just gonna look up just looking at the cast really quick. Then I got to move on. Haley Steinfeld as Ghost Spider, Shamik Moore as Miles Morales, Oscar Isaac as Spider-Man 2099, Daniel Kaluuya as Spider-Punk, Brian Tyree Henry as Miles Morales' father, Jefferson Davis. Yes, Jefferson Davis. Jake Johnson as Peter B. Parker, the older Peter Parker from, I guess, Earth 616. Issa Rae as Spider-Woman, Lauren Velez as Rio Morales, it's Miles Morales' mother, Jason Schwartzman as Spot, Greta Lee as Leah, Shea Wiggum as George Stacy, Jorma Taccone as Vulture. I think he was one of the members of Lonely Island, and Karan Soni and Rachel Dratch are also in the film. So got a pretty stacked cast. I'm definitely looking forward to this movie. Not sure if I picked it to be I'm not sure if it's one of my picks for the Fantasy Movie League. I don't think I chose this movie, but I'm actually looking forward to it. It hits theaters this summer, I think. June 2nd. So I'm going to do my best to see this movie in theaters this summer, June 2nd. And I'll let you guys know what I think about it. But I'm really, really, really looking forward to Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, another fun Spider-Man adventure, award recognition aside. It looks very, very promising. I still consider, if we're talking about like overall Spider-Man films, like I still consider Spider-Man 2. I still feel like that's, in my opinion, the best live action Spider-Man movie. Maybe I'm just blind with nostalgia. Maybe it's because I saw the movie in theaters when I was 3 years old, and I've seen it numerous times since, and I just think it's one of those films that just works and is timeless. But Spider-Man No Way Home as well. Maybe I'll put Spider-Man No Way Home as like second best live action. But I gotta say, Into the Spider-Verse takes the cake. I consider that movie the best theatrical Spider-Man movie. If we're talking all the Spider-Man movies that have hit theaters, maybe I'll do like a tier ranking if that's something you guys would like to see. I put Into the Spider-Verse best Spider-Man movie ever made so far. Spider-Man 2 best live action Spider-Man movie. So second best Spider-Man movie overall. And Spider-Man No Way Home, still, also a movie that's left open-ended. We got something to look forward to. Third best. Spider-Man No Way Home. I mean, the world doesn't know who Peter Parker is anymore. So we're finally getting a fourth Spider-Man movie, which has never happened before. No iteration of Spider-Man has gotten a fourth film. Rumor has it that Tom Holland will be showing up in Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, MCU Spider-Man. So yeah, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, it leaves us with a lot to look forward to, a lot to be desired. So, sticking with Marvel, and I guess this is the last property I'll talk about for today's episode. Daredevil Born Again. Foggy Nelson and Karen Page are apparently not returning for Daredevil Born Again. Daredevil Born Again is officially in theaters. There was an article on Screen Rant. They confirmed that Screen Rant they confirmed that there were a couple set photos. Yep, Daredevil Born Again film set video confirms filming has started. The first set video for Disney Plus's Daredevil Born Again confirms that filming has started for the first project starring Charlie Cox in the MCU. We know Charlie Cox. I mean, he denied that he was showing up in Spider-Man No Way Home. I'm glad that he did show up in No Way Home, and they brought Matthew Murdock, the Daredevil, into the MCU, and he also showed up for those 2 episodes in She-Hulk. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing more of Charlie Cox as Daredevil. John Bernthal has also confirmed that Frank Castle, the Punisher, his version of the Punisher, will be returning for Daredevil Born Again. Did I get his name right? Was it Frank Castle? Yep, the Punisher. Yeah, Punisher, played by John Bernthal. He will be returning in Daredevil Born Again. So, but we also, I think, Marvel fans, we have to understand that the series that were originally on Netflix, but they're now on Disney Plus, and I'm currently in the process of rewatching the entire Defender saga. That's not a part of the MCU. None of that is MCU canon, and there's references to in those shows they reference events that happen in the larger MCU on screen, pre Disney Plus MCU, but not a single MCU property on the big screen has ever referenced an event that specifically happened in Hell's Kitchen in the Defender saga. So this MCU version of the Punisher, and I'm sure even the MCU version of Daredevil, there's probably some similarities between MCU Matthew Murdock and Daredevil, Defender saga, and Defender saga Matthew Murdock. Probably some similarities, some differences. They are not the same character. Same actor, different character. Or different versions of the same character from 2 different universes, if that makes sense. So they're probably going to pick and choose which elements to keep, which elements to do away with. But I'm in the process of watching Daredevil. I'm currently on Daredevil season 1. It's all on Disney Plus now. There's a specific order you're supposed to watch it in. So you're supposed to do Daredevil season 1, then Jessica Jones season 1, and Luke Cage season 1, and then go back to Daredevil season 2, and then at some point you watch Iron Fist. There's the Defenders limited series, and then I think all the shows got a 3rd season, and then they got cut. Punisher got maybe 2 seasons, because I know Punisher shows up in season 2 of Daredevil. So a lot to look forward to in terms of Daredevil Born Again. It will, I think it's supposed to come out sometime next year. I mean, it is currently in production, so let's looking ahead to 2024. So that will be one of the new shows to look forward to in Phase 5. It's crazy to think of ladies and gentlemen, we are in Phase 5 of the MCU now. So lots to look forward to in terms of movies, TV shows. I mean, yeah, we got a lot to look forward to. Marvel fans, DC fans. I will save Shazam: Fury of the Gods for next week, for current nerd news next week. But yeah, because I know next Friday Shazam: Fury of the Gods comes out as well, and that's one of my picks for that's one of my picks for the fantasy movie league draft. So I'll definitely be talking about that next week. So look forward. So tune in next week, Thursday, 7 o'clock. Before we end, I have to point out that tomorrow night, same time tomorrow night, Friday, March 10th, 2023, I will be doing a live interview. Well, it will be an official episode of Cobb's Corner. It will not be current nerd news. It'll be an official episode. I have an interview with Jason Greer, and he is the director of a documentary called She. Yes, Jason Greer and Amy Baker. Yes, Amy Baker. Author. Yes, author Amy Baker. I'll be talking to them about their documentary called She. This documentary is available to rent on Amazon Prime. That's where I watched it. It's a great documentary, guys. Check it out. It is about all of the different women who have gone missing over the years. They all go missing back in like the 70s, and then they'll get found, and then they'll get found like years, decades later. They'll get found. Usually they get found, end up usually police will find and identify their corpse, or they'll find it. They'll find the corpse and they can't identify it for years. A lot of these and then a lot of these stories don't even get told. So it's a little bit different. You know, I don't usually like discuss documentaries or anything, but I just could not pass up this amazing opportunity. So tune in live. We'll be right here on YouTube. Yeah, we'll be right here on YouTube. This will be the permanent home for my live streams and live episodes and interviews that I do going forward. Until further notice, everything will be here on YouTube, not on Twitch. No, right here on YouTube. And yeah, it's going to be a very, very interesting conversation. I highly, highly, highly recommend that you guys tune in to tomorrow night's episode. It's tomorrow night, 7 o'clock p.m., March 10th, 2023. And yeah, it's going to be a very interesting conversation because a lot of these cases don't even see the light of day. And, for a lot of them, many women of color go missing at a disproportionately larger rate than their Caucasian counterparts. So definitely going to be a very, very thought-provoking, very real conversation that we're having tomorrow night. So that is all I have for today. I know we are like just under an hour. That's all I've got in terms of news and excitement in the world of TV, film, and pop culture. That is what we talk about here at Cobb's Corner. We talk about, movies, shows, pop culture. This is where you come to get your weekly dose, your weekly dose of information. So yeah, thank you guys for listening to what will be a new show, and what will be like an actual I guess episodes going forward. Current nerd news, like these will be official episodes of Cobb's Corner. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much, guys, for all your love and support that I've gotten from you guys. I've been at this almost a year. I've been at it like about 10 months. I've had this podcast. Thank you to each and every one of you for listening. And we are just getting started. We are just getting started. Thank you, everybody, for bearing with me as I have juggled running a podcast and also being a full-time student at university. I am about to graduate in 2 months. And actually, and after that, I will be going to live in the Pacific Ocean in a place called Micronesia, which is in the Pacific. It's near like Hawaii, Guam, like the South Pacific area. So that's where I'll be going to live for 2 years. This time next year, that's where I will be. So as far as uploading and live streaming, we will have to play that by ear. But as always, make sure that you are subscribed to this podcast wherever you get your podcasts. That includes YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, wherever. Subscribe, turn on your post notifications because we will be doing a weekly live stream here on YouTube. For those of you who are watching this on YouTube, this will be a weekly live stream every Thursday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I will be posting new episodes. Well, and the live stream will be available the following day, every Friday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So definitely turn on those post notifications wherever you're listening from, because new episode, at least one new episode every Friday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and you don't want to miss out. Hope you guys enjoyed your stay here at Cobb's Corner. I will talk to all of you in the next episode. Peace.